Well, thank you, guys. I told Tony when I walked in, y'all don't look nearly as tired as the principals did at this time yesterday. So be nice to principals when you see them. They're still in their summer mode of getting things accomplished at their schools, but they really did look tired. And I thought, so I know now, since Tony has left the room, yesterday I realized next time he asks me to speak, I am not going to do it at the end of the day and be the last thing holding you from the dessert. Right? So not the best place to be to speak. So accountability has changed slightly, right? It's been 5 years since we have used the A through F accountability system. Things are changing this year, and I'm going to give you kind of a big view of some of those changes, but more than that, I want to show you where you can find some other resources. If you need to dig deeper or you're curious about things, I'm hoping that I can show you where you can find some more answers, but I can also be a resource. So my email is on there. If you do have questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to help you at any time. On this first slide, the Commissioner Mike Morath has actually made a little video clip about this refresh just for board members. I'm not going to show it to you today. Your districts may be showing it to you when they have board meetings or meetings with you, but I wanted you to have it. It is on the TEA website, and I'll show you where it is later, but it's also linked right here. So you can hear from his own words about the changes and why. Nope, I said I wasn't going to play it. Please, no. Oh, okay, stop. We still have 3 domains. That's how it has been. Domain 1 is student achievement. Domain 2 is school progress. And domain 3 is closing the gaps. It is still a better of system where we are looking at the best of domain 1 or domain 2 for 70% of the overall score. And the third piece, closing the gaps, which is federal accountability, is always 30%. That has not changed. So those are kind of the big 3 buckets. Student achievement. Yes. Well, let's go back. Yes. Well, the commissioner added that. When you look at accountability, especially that middle piece, growth, they have taken that growth data and done it by different populations to see how it would be different. And it didn't change, specifically poverty, because in some other states, poverty is kind of pulled out and looked at. But in our growth system, that middle domain, when they pull out different populations, it doesn't change the way it looks. Okay? Well, thank you for noticing that. Student achievement is mainly where we're looking at students' STAR and EOC scores. The high school, we also look at graduation rates, and we look at CCMR, which is college, career, military ready. Here is how they get that domain 1 student achievement score. An elementary and a middle school, it's 100% their assessment scores for this domain. The high school, it's only 40% of that assessment score. It's 40% college, career, military ready, 20% graduation rates. A common question or misunderstanding is with that CCMR and grad rates, they lag a year behind. So for 2023 accountability, it is the 2022 graduates and the 2022 graduates' CCMR points. So that causes confusion sometimes when people look at their data because they're comparing it to the wrong year. I'm a data person and I like to see things in numbers and graphs. To me, this slide, it's the real data and it's factual. This is why some of the changes were made, and it kind of gives you the background of the numbers that are in the new system. In the top left corner, you are going to see the STAR and EOC scores from domain 1. And you can see in 2017, that 45%, and then there's kind of a red dash across it. They use real data and the state averages to set the targets and the goal scores. So in 2017, 45% was the state average. So that is where the target for C, an average, was set. And it stayed that way for 5 years. That target did not change. You can see that little gray bar there during COVID, and you can see the drop because of COVID. So in 2022, it was 48%. Not much different than where it was in 2017. So when the state used data to model where should we go now, they looked at before COVID, that 50%, and they looked at that after COVID, that 48%. And they tried to figure out where to set this new target. And here's what they decided. It is so close to the target we already have, we're not even going to change it. So for student achievement, the goals and the targets did not change at all. So we've had it for 5 years. It's going to be the same for 5 more years. I think that honored educators, and it makes sense because it didn't really change very much. COVID was hard. So that target did not change. If we move over to the right, that is our growth scores. And you'll see 2017, 57% was the target for a C. And you'll see in 2022, it's a 61. It did change slightly, and that target did go up a little bit. Okay? Bottom left is graduation. To me, it's a little misconceiving to look at that graph because it looks like it's going up a lot. But if you look at the numbers, it's only really a slight increase. 91.3 was the average in 2017. 92.6 was the average in 2022. The graduation targets increased slightly. Okay, just a little bit, slightly. Then we get to this bottom right. This is the one that's being talked about the most by principals and by schools, mainly high schools. The word that TEA has been using is skyrocketed. The numbers have skyrocketed. This is college, career, military ready. In 2017, the state average was a 47%. It has continued to increase even during COVID. And right now, the state average is a 65% from 2022. That is a huge difference. That 65 is now the cut score for a C. Skyrocketed. So when you hear new accountability numbers, you're going to hear a difference in CCMR. It doesn't necessarily mean that the campus itself went backwards in what they were doing. The cut score went up. So remember that. So Tony told me he was doing these ducks in a row, and I brought ducks. These are my grandchildren's ducks. And this is my domain 1 duck. I'll kind of let you see it. I don't know if he's a rocker, not sure. He has a scar on his face. You can see my duck. How do you think this duck would relate to domain 1? Oh, I was going to make you think today. You see my duck? What do you guys think? Why would this duck kind of be related to domain 1?
All the ducks are in domain 1.
What's domain 1?
Domain 1 is what we just talked about. The STAR, the CCMR, and the grad rates. I picked this duck because the CCMR target skyrocketing is the scariest thing, I think, for a high school principal right now. That's what's on their mind. It's a little scary. They're doing the same work, but the cut score skyrocketed, right? So there's my domain 1 duck. Now y'all want to know what else is in the bag, don't you? So let's look at domain 2. Domain 2 is my favorite. I love growth. Educators want to grow kids. If we're growing kids, everything else kind of falls into place. Academic growth is a little bit different than it has been in the past. Let's look at the annual growth, which is on the left side. This is called a transition table, similar to what we did last year. It has performance levels. If a student is moving up and growing, they can earn a point. Pretty much that simple. It's just based on their levels. Even a failing student who is growing and showing a year's worth of growth can earn 1 point. I like that. That's what we're about. Let's grow our kids. I personally was really concerned about what growth scores would look like from 2023. Let's think about it. Achievement that we saw on that graph dropped a lot due to COVID. Well, the next year, it went back up, and we got a lot of points for growth in 2022. Growth happened. It should have happened. It did happen. It's hard to maintain that. It is. It's hard. So when you think about growth, in the whole state of Texas, relative performance has usually been higher than growth in most schools for the whole state. But all of a sudden, that huge growth score, and growth was one of the highest domains for everybody because we dropped and we came back up. We can't keep that up. So what's going to happen to growth now? I was very concerned about that because you can't maintain that same level of growing. The commissioner's passionate about House Bill 4545, and those are extra hours of intervention that students who have failed get for help. So in this growth, there is now a new piece, and it's over here on the right. It's called accelerated learning, and it's just bonus points. I'm loving this. It's going to honor that work that we've been doing with House Bill 4545. It's only for math and reading, so failing students who have now passed at any level, you get to add some extra credit to your actual growth score. So any student that gets that 1 point for accelerated learning, you get to multiply that times 0.25 and add it to your growth score. I like that. Let's honor the work we're doing. We had COVID, we had a lot of failing kids, we're helping them, they're passing. Let's honor that. That's going to stay in the system. It's not just a one-year thing, but it's going to honor the growth of kids. So a student could earn 1 point for math, 1 point for reading and annual growth, and if they were a failure and passed, they're going to get 0.25 for math, and if it happened with reading too, 0.25. So they could actually get 2.5, 2.5 points total in growth. But it's not going to hurt you if there were kids failing that don't get this extra credit. It's only extra. So you could actually get a 100 in annual growth without the bonus points. If you happen to get above 100, it would default to 100. But it's extra points, just bonus. Relative performance is the second part of Domain 2, and there's no changes here. It's the same methodology that we used before. We are looking at the economically disadvantaged percent. I know we discussed poverty just a moment ago. Looking at the economically disadvantaged percent on a campus and comparing them to the same economically disadvantaged percent and the same type of campus. Elementaries compared to elementary, middle school to middle school. For example, if you had an elementary school that was 85% economically disadvantaged, you would look at every elementary school in the state of Texas that's 85% economically disadvantaged, and you'd put them in order by their STAR scores. So it's comparing campuses to like campuses. The cut scores changed slightly, but none of the methodology did. Remember, the STAR cut points did not change. For a high school, they're averaging their STAR and their CCMR. Remember that CCMR in Domain 1 was kind of that scary skyrocketed goal. So it will impact this for a high school. So let's look at my Domain 2 duck. Got them out of order here. I have a superhero duck. It's got a cape. Why do you think I used a superhero duck for Domain 2? No ideas? I'm hearing something. He saves the day. I like it. Those extra credit points, I think, are like a superhero. They're extra. I love it. Saves the day, right? And it's all about growing. If we're growing all of our kids, everything else will be fine. It's like superpowers. So that was Domain 2. Take a deep breath. I'm not kidding. Take a deep breath. Domain 3 is big. It's always been big. It actually looks a little bit smaller as far as what you're going to see, but it has the most changes. Okay? Has anybody heard anything about closing the gaps changes? Oh boy, I might need to sit down. Here we go. Closing the gaps. This is federal accountability. It is approved by the United States Department of Education. For the last 5 years, we have looked at 14 different student groups. This is all of the sub-pops. Starting with 2023, we're going to look at 4. 14, 4. They are called supergroups. There are 4 supergroups. And here's what those supergroups are. The first one is all students. We've looked at that before. The next 2 groups are your 2 lowest racial and ethnic groups from the previous year's data. Lowest performing 2 race and ethnicity groups from the previous year. And we now have a combined group called a high focus group. That's in the mint. That high focus group combines economically disadvantaged students, emergent bilingual students, special ed, and highly mobile. A student will only count once in that group. So if they're any of those or all of those, their data would count in that group one time. They're not duplicated. 4 groups, all students, 2 lowest race, high focus. But actually, that high focus group has 4 different things in it, right? Why? Why did we do this? The point of closing the gaps is to close the achievement gap of our lowest performing groups. In some campuses, especially smaller campuses, some of the lowest performing groups were not even measured because they did not meet minimum size. So we didn't even see the data that we were trying to measure. The minimum size in the past was 25 tests per group. That has changed. It is now 10. So the minimum size went from 25 to 10. Combining that high focus group, it's most likely going to count because we've now put them all together. Focusing on our 2 lowest race and ethnicities gives us that vision and that clear vision of closing those achievement gaps. It could change every year. 14 groups. Now how many? 4. 4 groups. Here are the actual steps, and I really just put this in here as a reference for you, but I wanted you to know it is only looking at academic achievement, which is the first column, the first part of closing the gaps. It's averaging their math and reading and closing the gaps for every race and ethnicity, and the two lowest ones are the ones that would count the next year. Okay? But the steps are there if you really like to get into that data, because I have a feeling somebody in the room does. Here's what your closing the gaps chart will now look like. In the past, it had a lot more squares in it because you had 14 groups. In the past, every little square had a yes or a no. Notice there's no yeses and nos up there, so it does look different. Again, let's see those 4 groups. You have all students. Then there's 2 columns that will represent the lowest race and ethnicity from the previous year. And then you have your high focus group. 10 is the minimum size for a group to count. The yellow is what's averaged together to find your 2 lowest. That is how many students are at meets or masters in reading and math. The green shows you your academic growth for reading and math. And for a high school, that's your graduation status. Down here, this orange, for a high school, that's CCMR, college, career, military ready. And for elementary and middle, it's their Domain 1 star score. And the blue is their TELPAS. Each one of those areas is weighted differently. The biggest thing to know is growth on an elementary and middle school campus is 50% of this Domain 3. On a high school campus, the 50% is the top one, how many are at meets and masters. If we grow them in elementary and middle school, we want them on grade level by the time they're in high school. So those are the 2 50% in closing the gaps. So let me talk to you a minute about these 0 to 4s. It's no more yeses and nos. A 0 would have been a no. We didn't make any targets. It's also saying we didn't show any growth. Maybe we went backwards or we stayed exactly the same. 1 point is still a no. You did not meet a target. But now, for every score that improves, 1 point. You can get credit in closing the gaps. 1 point improvement gives you 1 point. I like that. It was really hard for me to work with schools that had no's, and they were improving every year, but still weren't at that target. Now you're going to get credit for growing. Let's take steps towards where we're trying to go. 2 points is still, we didn't meet a target, but it's showing significant growth. We're on track to get to the next target. Then you get 2 points, and you still haven't even met the target. I love that. Let's honor the work we're doing. 3 points is the former yes. Yes, we met the target. 4 points means we went way above the target. ESSA has long-range targets that go through the year 2037, 2038. So when there's an area that you're doing really well in, don't back off. Keep going. You reach that long-range target, you get 4 points. So those are the 0 to 4 points. Before I show you that slide, I'll show you my duck for Domain 3. Yesterday we decided, at first he kind of looks like a joker. He's got on a red collar and a funny hat. But he also has a belt. We decided yesterday it was Santa's elf. Duck Santa's elf. So why would I use an elf, Santa's duck elf, for Domain 3? What do you think? It kind of is a nice present because now you can earn credit for improving in Domain 3. It's a gift. It's never been there before. You only have to improve 1 point and you can get a gift. Improve a lot and still don't meet a target. You get a gift. So that's my Domain 3 duck. Big changes, CCMR, right? Bonus points in growth, that was another big change. Closing the gaps looks a lot different. 14 to 4 groups, and now 0 to 4 points instead of yes and no. Lots of changes. One other thing that's very different than it's been in the past, and this is the district's weight rating. In the past, the district score was based on the high school formula. So CCMR and grad rates played pretty heavily in your domain for the district. Now, every campus is going to play in proportionately. The way this works is a campus, how many students are on that campus in grades 3 through 12. And this is from their October PEIM snapshot date. You divide that by how many students 3 through 12 were in the whole district on the October PEIM snapshot date. That's going to give you a percent for that campus. That is how much they weigh into the district score. So every campus will have a proportionate weighting. It's done for each domain. You add up all of those scores. You take their domain 1 score, multiply it times that percent, their weight, gives you points, and every campus's points are added together to get that district's domain score for the overall score. To me, it's real data. That's what a district really is about, is all of the campuses that make it up. Very different. So when you look at the district score, it might look different. It doesn't mean that everybody did worse. It's a different way to look at it. Based on the skyrocketed CCMR,
Well,
correct?
If you didn't have a high school, you had the very easy district formula if you had multiple campuses.
Yes,
So you could have like a B on your district and a bunch of C's on your campus.
absolutely.
Now you'll get a C on your campus.
Yes.
Or on your
You cannot hide a low-performing elementary or middle school campus in your district score. They're all going to be there. So it is different, right? So remember that. So I want you to know a little bit about what if. Have you heard of what if? Raise your hand if you've heard of what if. Okay, we do have some what ifs, hands going up. TEA took 2022 accountability scores, and they applied this new system to them. It does not change the rating from 2022 at all. But the accountability numbers and the data are so that you can look from year to year to find strengths and weaknesses. When we change the system and the targets, they don't compare as well. So they have taken 2022 accountability scores, applied this new system to it just as a tool so that when we get 2023 scores, you can compare them better. So that has been published for the districts. One of the things that superintendents asked TEA and the commissioner was, help us explain this. So TEA listened, and I'm going to show you some resources that can help because this is going to go public. It's going to go public September 28th, and it will be on txschools.gov. So people might get questions. We need to understand what all of this means. So it will be after the 2023 ratings come out. That is what the What If report is. You'll probably hear about it. There are some things that have been released. There is an A through F district toolkit, and it is some resources that help explain all of these things that we've been talking about. That recorded message, that was linked on our first slide. TEA has provided some slides for districts to present their what-if information to the boards. But it's on TEA's website, and I'm going to show you where it is. There is a one-pager that explains A through F, very simply. That might be something that you might like to print and have. So I'm going to actually show you where these are so that you can get to them quickly. I'm going to try to show them to you quickly. I'm just going to TEA. Man, y'all got quiet. And this is the first home page. There's a little blue box that says Academic Accountability right there on the home screen. If you click on Learn More, these blue links over here on the right are a lot of accountability information. This first one is the toolkit that I'm going to show you that has most of the things I just discussed. I do want you to know this second one before I click on the toolkit. TEA did a presentation to go over all of the system in detail, and it is recorded. So if you are one of those people that want to know everything and study it, there it is. And you can watch it as many times as you want. And you can even email me questions and I'll help you. But let me show you that toolkit. This is the resources that I was just talking about. Here is a template that the districts can use and put their what if information in it. It's where they can actually put their 2022 scores and their 2022 what if with some explanations. But I wanted you to see that because you might see it again. You might. It is not mandatory that they present that to you, but I know a lot of districts are working on that. And I wanted you to be able to see it. It's on the website. So there it is. The second bullet that says supplement, that one gives you some of the reasons behind, the whys. If you just want to know why were things done like this, that's where you'll find it. This third one is that one-pager. That's a one-page document explaining the accountability in the 3 domains. And that last one is that video by the commissioner. So it's very easy to find. Go to TEA's homepage, click on that little box that says accountability on it, and it will take you to this. All of these are in the toolkit. Okay? Man, this mouse is really hard to use. Any questions about any of those resources or how to find them? My last duck, you're real curious, aren't you? It's just a regular duck. If you put all of those things together, you'll have the whole accountability system and your ducks will be in a row, right? So it's just a regular duck. The last slides were just examples and showing you what those is on each of those things in the toolkit. So the first one, that's that template that the districts can use if they choose. The next one, it's going to tell you the purpose of accountability, the design commitments, and what the changes are. So you'll know exactly what's in that slide deck. This is what the one-pager looks like. It's front and back. And some dates, things that are coming out. So there is an A through F estimator that districts can use. It's in Teal Accountability, where they can put in some of their information that they have, raw data for 2023, to make predictions. But it's only as good as the raw data you put in it, right? It still takes a lot of work. The manual, the preliminary manual's been released. It's in a comment period. CCMR Tracker helps districts look at their numbers and see what they have so far. The summer, TEA is still putting out more resources, like some of the ones I just showed you. The final manual will not come out until August. So everything that I just said is preliminary. However, there probably won't be any huge changes. There could be some slight changes based on what comments and what stakeholders say to TEA about the manual so far. September, late September, is when the accountability ratings will be published. The specific dates that I've heard was it would be until accountability for districts to see on September 26th and would go public September 28th. So very late September. Once that happens, the appeal window opens and that closes in January. So just the dates. I know I went really, really fast, and that's a lot of information. You guys are amazing as an audience. Y'all are so with me the whole time. I was like, wow, because that's a lot of stuff. And I know you've already heard so much today. Your brains are probably swelling with all this information. My email is here. Please let me know how I can help or if you have questions. I'm happy to help you. We also have an accountability and assessment newsletter. Tons and tons of information as changes come out. There's the link to this week's if you're interested and would like to see it.